ಹಲೋ, ಗುಡ್ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಎವ್ರಿವನ್. ಪ್ರತಿ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಬೇಕು, ಪ್ರತಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿಗೂ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಬೇಕು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಗೋ ಔಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್, ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಬಿಗ್ ಚಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವೇರ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಅನೌನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಬಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಒನ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ವರ್ಡ್: ಅನ್ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ವೈ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್? ಆ ಕಡೆ ಅನ್ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಈ ಕಡೆ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವೇಕೆನ್ಸೀಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ವೈ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್? Well, a single word which can answer that is skill. That's a skill gap which is killing employment. ಪ್ರತಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಈ ತರನೇ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓನ್ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಫಿಟ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಫಿಟ್ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಫ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಪ್ ಟು ದ ಮಾರ್ಕ್, ಇಲ್ಲ ಆ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ದಮ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಹೌ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪ್ಲಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್? ನಾ ಇದನ್ನ ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಐ ಗಾಟ್ ಅನ್ ಅಮೇಸಿಂಗ್ ಬುಕ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ as ವರ್ಕ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ವಿ ಆಲ್ ನೋ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಒನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ which we are living in an era which is called as Google era, almost in 15 years in that, but this year changed it into an AI era, and in future AI is dominating. But ishtu dina irabekidre we realize how Google dominated, and for your information, Google was known as one of the best companies which was nominated 100 times by employees that ಆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ಆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಫ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಪೇನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ that company made something very different and unique. What was that? ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಹೈರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ತರ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ತರ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಹೌದಾ? ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಡ್ ದೇ ಮೇಕ್ ದಟ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್? They did make difference. For example, Lars Blocklow, he was the one who written this book called as Work Rules. He was a CTO, Chief Talent Officer in Google. In fact, prati varsha Lars hatra almost 2 million resumes barutte from across the globe. Adralli he will select few of those employees and he will hire. And he is one of those CTOs who saw company of Google from 6,000 employees in the 50,000 employees tanka tagondo almost 40 plus countries he was able to spread it across for a period of 10 years. And every time he was nominated as the best HR for the simple reason he knew how to nurture this employees and how to scale their potential. So that is precisely what we are trying to look across in this book about it. And this book, I'm sure, is going to make difference for every organization, because prati organization allu one thing which is common, that is human driven. ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಸ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಬಟ್ ಒನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಚ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ your organization is defined by the culture which you set and by the kind of employees you have. ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಅಥವಾ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ತರಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬುಕ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಮೇಕ್ಸ್ ಎ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್. ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಹೌ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಕೀ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ and how to retain it. In fact, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ the key to retaining the top talent is by offering the opportunities for them to grow and develop. ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅದು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಪ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ಯಾವ ತರ ನರ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ತರ ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ತರ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ತರ ಬೆಳೆಸಬೇಕು. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಪ್ರತಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಡ್ರಿವನ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಶೋರ್. ಅದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೀವು ಮ್ಯಾಂಡೇಟರಿಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಅ HR, if you are an organization, or if you are an employee, this is a video which can make difference for you. So ee video alli let's discuss about anything and everything about how an employee has to be nurtured. Well, welcome you all to this YouTube session which is hosted by your business doctor. Ivattu naan maataಡ್ತಿರೋದು work rules. As such, last ಈ book ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿರೋ ಪ್ರತಿ ಮಾತನ್ನ summarize ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು I'm trying to convey, because this book is a treasure for sure of innovative strategies and practices. In fact, ಅವನು ಗೂಗಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಯಾವ ತರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಗೂಗಲ್ ನ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಕಂಪನಿ ಫಾರ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ನ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜೀಸ್ ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿನ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಐಮ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್. ಸೊ ಮೇಕ್ ಶೋರ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್. ಅಂಟಿಲ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೋಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿನ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೇಕ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್. ವೆಲ್, ಫಾರ್ ಮೀ ಟು ಬಿಗಿನ್ ವಿತ್, ಐ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿಲೀವ್ ಇನ್ not to underestimate the power of small gestures, because work culturally that makes a difference. Because in book ali the first quote which I loved was, he says, you need to hire people for skills, but actually look at their passion and cultural fit. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಹೈರಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೋಕಾಲ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಫೋಲಿಯೋ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಇದೆಯಾ, ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನ, ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿಗೆ ಅವ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನ. ಇನ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್, ಪ್ರತಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅವ್ರ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ. ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬಟ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವೆದರ್ ಹೀಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾಷನೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂಡ್ ವೆದರ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಫಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಅವರ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಹೈರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಫುಲ್, ಬಟ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ನೋ ಟೈಮ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಡ್ರಾಪಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಯೋರ್ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಷನೇಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ over a period ಆ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ರಾದರ್ ನೀವು ಹೈರ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೇ ಇದನ್ನ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ things will differ. So he says the first thing what you need to understand is you need to hire people for skills, but you need to focus on whether they are passionate and whether they'll fit into your culture. ಇದೆರಡನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ you'll be able to synthesize that whether this person or this employee is right for the organization ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. So the first point is focus on skills, but also focus on their passion and whether the cultural fit is happening. The second point in book al ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, you need to focus on having a data driven hiring. Let me give an example. Flipkart, an e-commerce portal, our entire assessment of hiring is very simple. They focus on data analytics to identify whether the candidate or yaran hire ಮಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, whether that candidate is right fit ಅಂತ assess ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ they go on a data driven approach. It means ಪ್ರತಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿನ ಹೈರ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಆ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವೆರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ಇಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಹಿಡಿತಾರೆ. ಏನ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 6 kinds of data which Flipkart also has done, and that is exactly what even in this book has been suggested by Lars. He says ನೀವು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸತಿ ಹೈರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ you need to assess the background of an employee, number 2 the skill of an employee, number 3 the organization fit, number 4 cultural fit, number 5 whether he is capable of tackling the existing situation, number 6 most important part whether he can understand with what you are talking, in short whether he is hungry with the work what he is trying to tackle with. So it means these are the aspects even Flipkart takes care very sincerely while having a analysis or hiring plot. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಡ್ರಿವನ್ ಹೈರಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ 6 ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ನಾವ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ನ ನೀವು ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಡಿಪ್ಲಾಯ್ ಮಾಡಿ ದೆನ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ನೀವು ಹೈರಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ನ ಅಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. The third thing which he speaks in this book is transparency breeds trust, but trust is the foundation of the strong organization. ಅಂದ್ರೆ he says ಪ್ರತಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಗೆಲ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ the entire focus has to be on how transparent is your organization, how strong is your organization, because ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆನ್ಸಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್. ಅವ್ರು ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಗ್ರೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗಾಸಿಪ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಏನ್ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಆ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ದ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಸ್ organization is not being transparent. Let's take a case of Infosys. Infosys is known for being transparent. In fact, they always conduct a town hall meetings. I'm sure those who are working in Infi will agree with it. They have this town hall meetings with majority of the shareholders, financial performance assess ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ, strategic decisions ತಗೊಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ, organizational update ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ, employees ಯಾವ ತರ ನಡೀತಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆನ್ಸಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಓನರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ತಗೋಬೇಕನ್ನೋ ರೀಸನ್ಗೆ they have this series of meeting. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ? That is when employees will actually feel they own the company, they are part of the company, they believe their trustworthiness is being built by company being transparent. So it means being an employer, your responsibility is to make sure that you need to be transparent with the organization. ನೀವೆಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಹತ್ರ ನೀವು ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತೀರಾ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ connect actor. So the third point which he says is be transparent and make sure your organization's trust is being built by employee. So that is completely dependent on how you breed that trust, because that is the foundation of a strong organization. The fourth point he says is how you can focus on having a small wins and recognition. Let's take a case of a company, Zomato. Zomato, obviously we are aware of a food delivery to restaurant aggregator ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಮಗೆ. So ಈ Zomato ನ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ they have a subtle nudge actually. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ನ ನೀವು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ they always focus on having small wins, small recognition. It might be as simple as today the number of deliveries being given by this employee is higher. let's appreciate it. Today he has taken within a short span of time, let's appreciate it. Today he has made sure that he has focused on his healthy eating habits and focused on that, let's appreciate that. ಚಿಕ್ಕ ವಿನ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, that is when the organization confidence will be happier. It might be birthday, it might be anniversary, it might be something as a small win for the employee. ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿಗೆ ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಷಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಟ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸೀಡಿಂಗ್ಲಿ ವೆಲ್ ಆನ್ ಅ ಡೈಲಿ ಬೇಸಿಸ್, ಅಂಡ್ ದಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಅ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆನ್ ದಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು, ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಝೊಮ್ಯಾಟೊ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಿಗ್ಗಿ ಆಗ್ಲಿ, ಅವರು ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ವಿನ್ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ರೀಸನ್ಗೆ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಶೋರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಶಾರ್ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಟೈಮ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಊಟ ಮಾಡದೆ ಅವ್ರ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಪ್ಸೆಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅವ್ರ ರೆಸ್ಟೇ ತಗೊಳ್ದೆ ಅವ್ರ ಲೈಫೇ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಚಾಲೆಂಜಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. Having said that, it is also the organization's duty to make sure it is being balanced on both. Having said that, your understanding has to be something like how the small wins can appreciate a company to make sure that is growing. So hagidre, check in your organization what are the kind of recognitions you can focus. Simple example ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಡಾಮಿನೋಸ್ ಗಾಗ್ಲಿ KFC ಗಾಗ್ಲಿ ಮೆಕ್ಡಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ವಿನ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರ ಫೋಟೋ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಅವ್ರ ಫೋಟೋ ಹಾಕಿ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದಾಗ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಮೈ ಪಿಕ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ದೇರ್, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಐ ಶುಡ್ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅ ಬಿಟ್ ಬೆಟರ್, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಮೈ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್. That is precisely how you can create enthusiasm in employees. So check in your organization, do you have any such small wins and recognition concept? If not, go introduce it. This is exactly what LAS is conveying in this work rules books, that employee expect a small win on a daily basis rather than giving a bigger benefit at the end of the year. A lot of company does ESOP, where it says that you be for 5 years, you're getting a bigger chunk of money. So with that, what happens? Employees are forced to continue. Now that happens on a long run, but what happens with short run? What happens in a shorter period of time? You will get exhausted with only daily routine. Hagagi, make sure that you try giving that small wins and recognition which employees will enjoy, and that will breed a strong trust and strong happiness getting connected with the company. Now, sixth point he says is innovation doesn't happen in isolation, it thrives in collaboration and diverse teams. In fact, this is my favorite point, because ಈ book ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ದಿರೋ ಪ್ರಕಾರ Google has a concept of 20% time off. In fact, this is one of the concepts which I always appreciate. E-concept, I'm not sure how many companies have taken it, but Google have bought this policy of 20% time policy. E-policy has successfully worked, and in fact, this has resulted in innovation of the company. First, let's understand what is 20% time policy and how it is breeding innovation. In fact, a book introduced Madra Prakara, Google has introduced this concept of 20% time policy, wherein employees are encouraged at least 1/5 of their entire time, under 8 hours work, at least 2 hours on a daily basis, to pursue certain personal projects, personal interest, which can result in a groundbreaking innovation. And on the totally start ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು, but it resulted in extraordinary basis of innovation. ಏನಾಯ್ತು? Imagine ನಿಮ್ಮ organization like 20% of the time na, if you are giving employees to make sure their interest is being pursued, someone like public speaking, someone is happy about browsing, someone is happy about trying to read a book, whatever it is related to the company, if at all they are doing it, or unrelated to the company which they are trying to experiment themselves, that is when their free-minded concept comes in. In that time is when a lot of innovation has resulted. So e 20% time policy out shuru madiddu to give a break, to make sure he thinks, to make sure he relax. ಅದಾದ ನಂತರ that has resulted in innovation. So ಈ 20% time policy ಯಾವಾಗ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಯ್ತೋ, a lot of organizations started utilizing the same thing. So ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ what is that aspect which you are trying to bring in to make sure innovation is something which doesn't sit as an isolated factor, but it works as a collaborated version. So in this way, LAS says that in your organization always have a timeout policy which can work. So that's the fifth point, the sixth point which is trying to convey. The next point is something which I appreciate, and I'm in fact told about it a lot of times. Next point or ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, fail fast, fail smart. What is that all about? Simple. He's trying to say that fail fast and fail smart is one of those approach which Google used, and that is exactly what LAS is conveying in this book. He says Take a case in India itself, Ola. Ola is focusing completely on promoting its culture of experimentation. It always says that an employee I'll give a lot of options to make sure they experiment it in specific market. For example, yado one idea, if it doesn't work in a expected way, then you need to analyze the result, learn from that experience, and quickly make sure that you're trying to improve it. So it means prati employee go when they are given a chance of failing, when they are having the freedom of failing, that is when they'll grow bigger. So ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಡೈಲಿ ಡೋಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಿಸಿನೆಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋలో ನಾನು ತುಂಬಾ ಸತಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. When an employee has an option to fail, or whether he has a freedom to fail, or whether the consequence of failing is not so big, that is when employee will be able to open up. Employee will be able to think much bigger and better. But when every failure or every mistake is being penalized on a very high basis, then how do you think that employee will open up, or how do you think that employee will be thinking better for an organization? I understand there are times when a mistake can cost a lot to you. But my question is, after the mistake, the only option where he thinks about it, how can I improve it? How can I better it? So Hagidre, what is your thought process in this? I'm sure you would like to go comment it and answer me. If in case an employee makes a mistake, how is that you will treat? But Google, they convey that they give an option and they give a freedom of failing. They convey that nim training period first 2 years fail fast, fail big, fail smart. That is when you will understand what not to do. And the day you realize what not to do, that is the day you will have much bigger aspects to convey it. So Hagagi Google, they gave an option on freedom to fail. Doesn't mean that Google will not penalize. The thing is, the penalty or the penalization factor is not so big that they'll not even try about it. That is exactly why the innovations are higher in Google and the top companies, because they are letting employees to fail and letting experience the failure. In fact, your employees' well-being is company's well-being, because company will perform and grow big only when that employee feels that freedom is there. Imagine if it is my own company, my own wish, my own choice. Will I not take risk? Will I not fail? Will I not be, blaming myself about the situation? I will give all that benefit of doubt when it is mine. Now, last says that, Ibukali, the day you make sure your employee feels it is his own, that is when he is having freedom. And the day he is having freedom is the time he will be much more innovative. Our concept and introduce okay, they have a concept, something called as ITO, that is called as innovation time off. This is one of the excellent concept which Google follows. Last says in this book, innovation time off is something even today in India, actually Mindtree and other companies, IT companies have begun this as well. Last says in this book, ITO, that's innovation time off, yav company alli jaasti iruto, that is when the innovation will scale. But what is it about? Simple. It allots a portion of time for employees to make sure, which is called as an innovation house. Their entire focus is on to work on their personal project or research related to emerging technology, or research related to the client challenges, research related to the new things which are coming up. The entire focus in this ITO, innovation time of Alienandre, the exclusive hours which is allocated on a weekly basis, your entire time has to be dedicated to explore and research something new, something which is uncommon, something which is not existing, something which is about to come. Those areas they're asking you to focus and spare time on. That is when you will be able to explore things. ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ITO innovation time of ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ purpose ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ organization ಅಲ್ಲಿ think about it, how you can help your employees to nurture and grow, because it's all about their growth. When employees grow, in turn company will grow. The problem is we are making sure that employees growth is restricted. Then how do you think they'll be able to scale themselves? So employees scale agadike, there are multiple options, and employees comfort feel agadike, there are multiple approaches. Google use ಮಾಡೋದು ITO, that's innovation time off. Check this whether it works out in your company. If so, work on that and get back. And the next point which he conveys about it is how the best leaders has to empower others to lead. So adike avaru heltare, your focus is on completely to be on the psychological safety of an organization. Let's take a case of HCL Technology. In fact, HCL takes care a lot about the psychological safety, and psychological safety actually encourages open feedback system. In fact, HCL alli yav ತರ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ every particular department should make sure there's an open feedback system. Anonymous channels is to be created, enabling to make sure the employees has to raise their concerns, share their ideas. whatever the challenges they feel it, and make sure their existing process is completely without fear of repercussion. ಯಾವಾಗ ಆ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಇಂದ, ಅಥವಾ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ನಾವು ಡೆಲಿವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ಗೆ, that is when employees will open up, and that is when things will start changing. Psychologically ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that is when the efficiency of an organization will also improve. Efficiency of an employee will also improve. So it means focus on that psychological safety. That is where he was trying to convey Bukali. You always need to create a culture where failure is celebrated as a milestone to the path of success. Yavak psychological safety iruttala, the confidence of an employee will be higher, and that will emerge and evolve in a situation where you will celebrate situation. So that failure has to fit into the organization as part and parcel of a daily routine. In fact, Chikkavidya Sameta, this is exactly what we used to face. Every time we fail, or every time we are not up to the mark, there are two kinds of parents. One, they appreciate with whatever happens and convey that what next. Another kind of parent who's there is always tries to blame you and say that this is wrong. And I'm sure if you are one of them who understood the pressure of blame, you were unable to scale as well. And the one who was able to get parents who are lucky enough to get such parents, because they told it's okay, let's look what's next. And that is when people will start growing. And I am one of those lucky fellow who got parents. Every time I failed, my parents didn't ask why did I fail. They're like, okay, now let's think about the future, let's focus on what next has to be done. And that is precisely which helped me to move ahead. Am I successful? I'm not sure, or I'm not, but for sure I'm happy. That is because of their focus and their help. So ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂತೀರಾ, ಇಟ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಪ್ಪನ್ನಂತೂ ನೀವೇನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ತಪ್ಪನ್ನಂತೂ ನೀವು ಸುಧಾರಿಸಬಹುದು ಬೈ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಟ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ that will encourage them to be much more confident. And the ninth point which he conveys with this book is unconventional perks. ತುಂಬಾ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬರೀ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನೋ, ನಾಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ perks are given, certain perquisites are given in the form of encouraging them on the personal hobbies, in the form of trying to create that arts and culture, and trying, in the form of making a stand-up comedy workshop wherein the entire routine is broken, and make sure that they feel that they're homely back again. That routine is something which you need to maintain, and that will help an organization to have that sense of purpose which can scale it. And finally, Bukal Matadadu, it's about community involvement, how you make sure entire organization involves and how you will nurture them. Because the entire promotion process in Matadari Bukali is mostly depending upon how you are creating that community, how you are creating the sense of purpose, how you are creating them to consider that this is mine. And that promotion process will eventually make sure that it is being strongly recommended, because the review process, the promotion process, the hike process in every organization defines the strength of the organization, and that will convey whether you're working well. I remember a lot of employees coming back and telling that ಇಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರು, but the time of hike, the time of appraisal is the time where they're trying to convey every negative possible situations about me, or ನನ್ನನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದಾಕ್ತಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ನನ್ನ ರೆಸಿಗ್ನೇಷನ್ ಪಿಂಕ್ ಸ್ಲಿಪ್ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ they'll all talk about the negative things which I had. This is not fair. Then you need to focus on that thing called as a process of promotion, and that will encourage you to consider it. And I'm sure that you will be one of those purpose-driven organizations which will make sure your employee feels always confident about it. I hope these points which are given in this book can make a difference in your organization as well, because most of them ನನಗೆ last time inform ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ I had challenge about my employees. I don't know how to nurture them. I don't know how. That is exactly why I took this book, Work Rules, because Google ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ policies ನ follow ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, which can also be helpful. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ I've taken those points which can be implemented by you in your organization, and I'm sure these pointers can definitely be helpful. Well, I'd like to thank Lars for this book, because this is an amazing book. ಈ ಬುಕ್ ನ, ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಅಂಡ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ಗೆ, ಎವ್ರಿ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯರ್ಗೆ ಈ ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಕಳಿಸಿ, ಅಂಡ್ ಐಮ್ ಶೋರ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಫುಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೇ they'll be able to get connected. By doing so, I'm sure that you'll create a great environment for individuals to thrive and make sure that team collaboration happens, their growth happens, their focus happens, and that will not just encourage on making sure the organization has the best fit, they'll also focus on one thing about you. Well, this is Shantan representing iSpeakers. ನಿಮ್ಮ business doctor. Thank you.